Hi, everyone. Um, Thanks for joining and for letting me hijack David's Substack Live. I'm Kristen Wilde Giuliani, as David just mentioned, and I'm writing at Substack at a place called Unicorn Hollow about small things that give us hope as writers, creators, and slightly or more than slightly messy humans. And I was just telling David, I feel like every time I've tried to do something on Substack, it has made me fully live into this identity as a messy human. So it's great. It's helping me learn how to roll with the punches. So,
Mm.
anyway, one of the things I'm doing this month is I'm writing about creative winters. So, those times when everything really feels like it might not actually be dormant, it might be dead. And to help us have little bits of hope, to just kind of look for those small things that can still promote really quiet, restful growth. And so I thought actually it would be perfect to talk to David today. And as you all know, who are joining from David's channel, David helps writers develop brands, strategies, and systems and transform their words into life changing income. He's a full time solopreneur, coach, and author of fantasy and horror. He lives in Northern Ireland with his wife, Christine, who takes amazing photos, by the way,
He
and
knows.
his dogs, Lupin and Ghost. And he didn't put this in his bio, but I think he's a genuinely delightful person, um, which makes it fun to chat with him. Back in mid November, I decided to take the plunge to really start investing in turning my love of writing into a desire to, and my desire to share that into a business. And so I started working with David as a coach and a mentor. And boy, these last few months have been super awesome, really challenging in a good way. And I found that over my time chatting with him, David's not just a wealth of information, which I'm sure you all know for being here, but he is a constant source of inspiration and encouragement. So I always leave times chatting with him feeling really encouraged, feeling like I can do this. And so I
Good.
thought he's the perfect person to chat. So I am very excited. He's usually the one asking me questions. So I'm excited to ask him questions now. So let's start out, David. I really like to hear about how people ended up in their journey as a writer. So, especially when you have an actual viable career and you're earning your living from it. So, I'd love to hear about your writing journey and maybe if you could highlight one thing in there where it took you by surprise that you were not expecting.
Yeah, brilliant question. I love it. Before I get into that really quick, just anyone who's joining us, feel free to leave comments as we're doing this live today, and we can maybe answer some questions as we go. And make sure you follow Kristen. Her link should be somewhere up at the top of the screen while you're here as well. So, yes, my writing journey. I'm not going to go all the way back to childhood because I could definitely tell stories about whenever I was a kid writing fiction and things like that when I was in school. But in terms of a career, my writing career kind of started as a freelance writer a few years ago, sort of just shortly before the pandemic. I was a youth worker, and that career path kind of came to an end. I basically needed to pay the bills, so I started doing freelance writing. Really kind of low paid, not particularly exciting, actually super boring jobs most of the time. I literally was at one point writing about mattresses on a weekly basis, which is really not
Oh,
fun.
wow.
Yeah, at all. But it helped me pay the bills, so I was thankful for it at the time. And then I eventually kind of discovered Medium, and then I discovered Substack, and I started kind of building a bit of a base here. And obviously that became like my main thing then after a point. And I love Substack as a platform. And I've been very fortunate, I think, to be on Substack around the time whenever it really kind of exploded in the last couple of years. So that was fortuitous, I guess, in that regard. But I guess what I didn't expect about the whole process, maybe took me by surprise a little bit, was just how there's so many things that I thought I could never do, and that once I tried to do them, I realized I actually could do them. I didn't think I could ever get up and write every day online. I didn't think I could finish uh, copies of books, get books published, have a podcast, go live on Substack like I'm doing with you. All these things that, as an introvert and someone who wasn't naturally confident in my ability, I never could have imagined when I was younger doing this kind of stuff and making these things happen. But what I've learned is if you just do it, if you just take the bull by the horns and just say, I'm just going to try this, and whatever happens, happens, you never know how things are going to go. So that's my little bit of advice at the start of this conversation. If there's something you're thinking about doing and you're worried it's not going to go well, just try it. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, So I'm curious about in there, going from taking the leap from mattresses to Substack and doing Substack Live. I assume there's many spots in there, but at what point were you in your, like, mattress writing journey and thinking, "I I really wanna write more. Like, this is really great."
Yeah, I think I've written the same mattress article about 10 times, and I was like, "I hate this." I was so bored of it, but, I should say as well, I started another kind of business alongside writing, where I market, places to stay and eat and experiences here in Northern Ireland, where I'm from. So
Oh,
that was another income stream for me that kind of helped, supplement the writing side of things as it was kind of getting started. But, yeah, I think I just got to the stage where I could see other people having success on things like Medium, and I was like,
mhm.
"You know what? I wanna try that as well, to see if I can generate some income on the side." And then I realized after a point, actually, there's so many options here, so many opportunities to generate money where I could actually earn a living from it, on top of what I'm already doing as well. So, just learning from other people, watching YouTube videos about it till I was blue in the face, reading so many articles about it, just kind of obsessing over it at the start until I really got a handle on how it worked. And I feel like now I do. I'm always learning all the time, but I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on how to grow a writing based business. And yeah, it's just really good fun. So it's a constant experiment, and you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Mm.
What of the things that you never thought you were gonna be able to do, have you actually enjoyed doing the most?
Mm. I think, well, coaching, you already mentioned it. Coaching is like relatively new to me in terms of the way I'm doing it now. But it's so much fun. I love doing it. I love meeting with people like you and just helping you work through some of your targets and your goals and your processes. It's not something I ever felt I would have been able to do. Like I didn't have the confidence to help other people in that kind of way. Or just go live and have a conversation like this off the cuff on Substack. Again, I would have been stumbling over my words all over the place a year ago, and I still do it sometimes, obviously, because this is live, so it always happens. But the confidence you gain just from putting the reps in and doing something over and over again, you get so used to it, and after a while, it just feels like riding a bike. Feels so natural. So yeah, doing things face to face and like one to one
Yeah.
is still something I'm getting used to, but I really really enjoy it.
Yeah, well, and as a recipient of coaching, I'm just gonna throw out there as not encouraged or, paid advertising, but David is fantastic and is really excellent at spotting things that I maybe don't recognize in myself and
Mm.
gently encouraging me to try things, like doing this Substack live with him and his giant audience.
Yeah.
So, uh is fantastic. So you're doing
Mhm.
great at it. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate it.
so then kind of moving on right to where you are right now, feels what are you working on now that feels really exciting, that doesn't really feel like drudgery and you get up every day and you're like, "Oh, I get to do this."
Yeah. I'm kind of boring when it comes to what I find exciting. Like I love getting systems in place. I love getting processes going. I love seeing things come together. I love running experiments and then seeing those experiments bear fruit after a while. So for me, whenever I get into a rhythm with something and I work towards a goal and I see that goal achieved and then I can see momentum building with it, that's something that gets me really, really excited. But in terms of writing, just getting to sit down every morning with a laptop and just write stories, write fiction is still the thing that I find more exciting than anything else. Some days, like today, I wasn't great at it. It was a bit of a struggle, but I still took the time to do it. But there's some days you sit down and you write and you come away feeling so, and you know this yourself as a writer as well,
Mhm.
you come away feeling so energized by it and you're so excited about what you've just written. And you read back over some of your older stuff and you're like, can't believe I wrote that. That's like actually quite good.
Yes.
Some of it's not good, but,
Yeah.
like, most of it is, in that sense, but it's, yeah, that's still the thing that, whenever I know I get to do that, and I get to sit down in my chair, which is behind me, and just write fiction, that's super energizing and exciting.
Yeah, that's and I know you were having, one thing you and I were chatting about because we were both struggling with sitting down to actually write the manuscript. So I
Mm,
know at the beginning of this year, that was feeling challenging to sit down and find time to do it. What is feeling really challenging now, if that's
mm.
maybe feeling exciting?
I think sometimes just the balance with everything, like, I've got several different income streams that all kind of work in tandem. And sometimes as a solopreneur, just doing it by myself, it's a bit of a juggling act, trying to make sure everything balances up, make sure you're allocating the right amount of time to each thing, and you're not spending too much time on one thing and then something else is kind of going by the wayside. That is a constant learning curve. I'm always trying to figure out the best ways of doing that, and managing my own time. And if you're watching this today and you're thinking about becoming a solopreneur, working for yourself, that will always be the most difficult aspect of it. You're your own manager. You have to manage your own time. There's no one else who's gonna take that on board for you. So it's one thing I do struggle with. I always find difficult. I think I always will. I don't think there'll be a point where I'm like, this is easy, but you get better at it. And as I said, I enjoy processes, so tackling it is still fun.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better because I have been working for myself for a long time, and I also still have a very hard time finding the time to manage and prioritize what needs to go first, especially when I'm in procrastination mode. I don't know if you get there where you're like, "Oh, I should really be writing this," but instead I really wanna mess with fonts. Fonts
Yes,
seem really important right now, so I should probably do that.
yes, I've been there.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so you were mentioning you writing your fiction book, and, one thing that I had shared, this last week about ways that I've kind of helped to
Oh, I think Chris is maybe kind of frozen a little bit. We'll see if she comes back in a second. If anyone has any questions, by the way, uh, that you want to ask me while Chris is frozen there for a little second, feel free to pop it into the chat. Substack has been a little bit janky at the minute with this kind of stuff. I've definitely experienced that. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about already, and sorry, Chris, if you can hear me right now, you are frozen on my screen, so apologies for that. But if anyone has any questions while I'm here for the next few minutes, just feel free to pop it into the chat, and say hello. Tell me what you're going through right now. What are you struggling with in Substack? What are you writing? At the minute? Are you writing fiction? Are you writing nonfiction online? Are you writing self help kind of stuff? Pop it into the chat. Let me know what if you have any questions about anything I've said. Kristen, you've reappeared again. I've been talking away there for ages. Sorry,
I
you're probably
heard
just
I really appreciate it.
listening
I
to me.
actually could hear you the whole time. This is what
Well,
was
that's
happening
okay.
yesterday too.
Yeah,
Um, okay, so
you're back. You're back.
where did I leave off?
I think you were talking about, well, I'm just gonna look at some of the things we talked about in advance, maybe about, like, the ideas for settings for books and things like that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's where we're going. Okay. Yeah, so I would love to hear one of the things I've done to help kind of break into when I'm feeling stuck on getting fun settings is to try to move my body physically into a position of like maybe a little kid or an animal and look at the world from a different way. And it's been amazing how just doing that has given me ideas. I'm
Mm.
wondering, do you have any little simple, quick hacks or ideas of how you've gotten? I'm in the middle, by the way, of reading The Soul Burn Talisman, which is
Oh, thank you.
David's middle grade book. It's really engaging and I love the world that he's building. So I'd love to hear. If you haven't read it, you should go find it and read it. It's great. Um, but I would love to hear how you come up with that idea, or any of the ideas, like the book you're working on now, your fiction.
Mm. Yeah, well, Soulburn and all my fantasy stuff is very, very much inspired by Northern Ireland, where I am right now. Very much inspired by the landscape, by Irish mythology, by just the hikes we often do in the mountains. And I think what originally inspired that first book was I was hiking. I looked up at the top of a mountain, and it looked like a castle. It looked like a turret on a castle, and it just made me start to think, what would it be like if there was a city up here in a fantasy story? And it just kind of all sort of came from that point, and that was like an initial bit of inspiration. And then there's so much backstory in like Irish mythology as well that I was able to kind of filter into what I was writing. So very, very much inspired by the landscape of where I'm from. Horror is a different kind of aspect where it's more inspired by actual things I've experienced. So the start of my most recent book, Humbug, the first scene in that, other than the actual horror aspect of it, was very much inspired by an actual thing that happened to my wife and I, where we came out of a cinema. screening. We were in by ourselves, and the entire cinema was empty. No one else was there, as if they forgot we were in the cinema all along. So that moment inspired the rest of the book. And The Substitute, which is my first horror novel, was inspired by my wife's experience as a substitute teacher what she used to do. That kind of came from that point. So very, very much either inspired by the landscape or actual experiences that we've been through. Yeah.
Ah,
Mm.
and so you managed to take what sound like could be mundane or even painful substitute teaching experiences and turn them into horror. I love that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a swing, in some respects, although there's aspects of substitute teaching are quite horrific, I think, as well, from what Christine's told me, so yeah.
I would have a I feel like I have a lot of respect for substitute teachers.
Yeah, me too.
um, yes, so that's pretty awesome. Do you have so, like, if you're stuck then and you're trying to come up with something, do you have something you do? Do you go out and go for a walk? Do you go and try to get yourself immersed in something really interesting or, I don't know,
Yeah.
awe-inspiring?
Yeah. Yeah, I think very much just, kind of stepping away from the screen sometimes is a great way to just get your brain reset a little bit. So as you say, going for a walk or going out for a coffee or just doing an activity that's not writing for a while and giving yourself the permission to take a break from it a little bit. Knowing that you're going to move back into it at some stage and start writing again. But I've always found that the times whenever I'm driving in my car or just out for a walk or whatever, that's when your brain starts to unlock and starts to really see things differently, and all the ideas start to flood into your brain at that point. So yeah, my advice to anyone is just always, if you feel stuck with your writing, step away from it and just say to yourself that it's okay to close your laptop or turn off your computer and leave it for a few hours or a few days even, and then come back to it whenever you feel ready again.
Yeah, that I feel like that's always so counterintuitive, and I know I personally always feel like I'm wasting precious writing time if I step away.
Mm.
But it's amazing how just the act of walking away from your screen. I saw someone write, "Screen time is killing me." I like there's something amazing about moving away and being in a real world that just
Yeah,
makes things flow again in a
yeah,
way.
very much. Yeah. I'm just reading some of the comments people have put in here, by the way, as well. Some
Oh,
interesting
that's
stuff.
good.
Yeah, but yeah, no, carry on, carry on.
All
I'm just
right.
saying.
So so you've kind of talked about how you get unstuck. If you were to give a piece of writing advice for writers, creatives, anybody in that space who's trying to use their imagination to do things, who feel like their work is feeling dead. So
Mm,
maybe not stuck, but you're feeling kind of uninspired, feeling like you're doing the work, you're sitting down to doing the work, but things just don't really feel like they're growing. What would be your advice you would give?
mm. I think routine is so important when it comes to writing fiction in particular. Um, Being able to have a rhythm and know that you set aside like a sacred time of the day. For me, that's usually the morning. If I write fiction, so I'll try to set aside a bit of time between breakfast and lunch, to just write fiction. Put everything else to one side. Put Substack and my business, everything else to one side, and just focus on that. Even if you end up writing a few sentences and that's it, and you just kind of sit there thinking about it for a while, that's okay. You've given yourself the chance to sort of work on it in your mind. And also as well, if you get to the point in a book, if you're writing fiction where you feel like the story's kind of stopped, and again, Kristen, you might be able to relate to this. Sometimes it's okay to just scrap a chapter. If you're in a book and you kind of think, I don't know where this chapter is going, I'm not sure what's happening here. What I sometimes will do is go back to the start of that chapter and just write it afresh as a different chapter, and then I'll leave the original one there in case I need to go back to it again, but write it again afresh in a different way, and then just kind of compare the two and see which one you like more, see which one actually advances the story. Because it could be the case that the original one was actually better, and then you go back to it again. So give yourself the chance to sort of like kind of see it from fresh eyes a little bit. Even give your chapter or your book or your writing to somebody else, let them read it and then give you some feedback. And sometimes that feedback can either encourage you because they really liked it, or they might have some criticisms of it, and then sometimes the criticisms can almost spur you on to want to get better, and you kind of feel a bit fired up about it, maybe a bit defensive, but it makes you want to write again.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do to sort of yeah, give yourself a bit of a kick up the bum to sort of get going again. Yeah, do that. What about you? What do you do?
Well, I just want to, and I'll say, but I really love the idea of giving. I feel like I don't know why I needed your permission to do this, but maybe because you've published books and now, and I'm still pre published, but the idea of permission of going back and scrapping something to rewrite that scene if it's
Mm,
not working. I feel like, I don't know if anybody else does this, but one thing that I tend to do is once I'm there, I'm just dug into my path and then I keep going and I'm like, why is this so boring? This is so boring. I need to stop doing this. But the idea of stopping immediately when you're feeling like it's starting to go flat and you can't quite figure out what the next thing is and giving
mm,
yourself permission to rewrite that, I think is I always feel like, well, I'm never going to move forward. But clearly you have. And so
mm,
that's a really good inspiration, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So you asked one thing I do. One thing I've recently realized that I have done is I tend to write really passive main characters, which makes for kind of a boring story. And so what I've tried to do now is to use when I feel like things are kind of stagnant, is to make my main character make a bad decision
Mm,
that I'm writing middle grade, so I think it's really easy to come up with bad decisions that middle schoolers can do. I
yeah.
am living with one of them right now, and so, I think one thing I found that can help liven something up is to think what would be a realistic thing that I, as an adult, know would be a terrible decision, but that when you are just sitting in that moment thinking it makes logical sense to do, um, I think that has even if it makes me cringe, like, "Oh, I don't want my main character to be like this. I don't want her to make
Mm,
bad decisions." It makes for a much more interesting story,
true.
I am
Yeah.
finding.
Yeah. I frequently make my characters do stupid stuff, and or just make them fall out with each other, make them have arguments and stuff like that. And especially whenever they're young people or children
Yeah,
in your books, it's a lot easier to do that. But yeah, I think if the writer knows it's a bad idea, or not the writer, so the reader can see that what's happening is a bad idea, and they can see the character sort of barreling down that pathway, and they're kind of like,
yeah.
"No, what are you doing? Don't do that."
Yes.
It makes the book so much more engaging because you want to reach into it and grab them and put them back on the right path again. So yeah,
Yes, yes. I've found you do this really well with your middle grade characters where I'm like, "What are you doing? That's a terrible
stop that,
decision."
you
And
idiot.
then you're that is great storytelling then.
It does work. It does work.
Yeah, well, we're getting close to the end of our time. So,
Mm,
I thought what I would do is let's see. I'll ask you first the question that I want to end with, and then we can maybe see if there's any questions. I haven't seen, have you seen questions come through? But I have not. I've been mostly focused on not messing this up. So I
that's
haven't been
okay.
paying very good attention to
You're
the
doing great. Don't
comments.
worry. Yeah.
Um, okay, so the question I wanted to ask is where are you finding hope right now? So
Mm,
my publication is about trying to find hope in things, small things, but where are you finding hope? However you define hope, I'd
mm,
love to hear.
yeah. It's a good question because I know that the world often feels like there's a real lack of hope right now in general. And no matter where you are in the world, I think it's definitely a difficult time right now. I don't think anyone's gonna argue with that. I find hope a lot of the time just in people. So my family, my friends, the things that I've always done that I'm used to. Like we went to the cinema last night with some friends, and that was great, and that was just a really normal thing to do, and it was just really good fun, and we've done that for our whole lives. So, I think just doing those normal everyday things with people that you know and love, is a really great source of hope. And just knowing that I mean, there's literally mountains outside my window right now, and sometimes I look out and I just think those mountains have been there long before we got here. They're going to be there long after we're gone. So much about the world is completely unchanging, and it just carries on as it always does. And I think we sometimes have to remember that there are dark times, there are difficult periods in life, but life does move on eventually. And sometimes, I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but the world is often darkest before the dawn. Like things
Yeah.
often feel at their worst just before they get a lot better, and that's happened time and time again in the past in cycles. So, I always look forward to just the good times that I know are gonna come eventually. They're probably not that far down the line, and just kinda helps you endure the difficult times then until that point.
That was beautiful, and I love it. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, there is always hope in nature, Edith wrote. I think that is it's absolutely I also find a lot of hope out there too. So I love
Me too.
that.
Yep.
Well, great. That was
Mm.
those are the questions I have, David.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question then real quick, if that's okay, Kristen, yeah. Tell
Off
us
the
more.
cuff. Oh no.
Yeah, tell us more about your book. So you mentioned a couple of times, the book that you're writing right now. Where are you at in that process? And can you give us just a quick little taster of what it's about?
Oh, yes. I have been writing this book for way too long. Like if you
Mhm.
think back to where the first idea came, it was um 18 years ago. Like that just
Yeah.
So here's hope for all of you who are very slow. You are probably not slower than I am. So I'm in the process of doing I think my fourth draft of
Mm,
revisions on trying to and it has changed a whole lot even in this last one.
mm,
Um so I'm hoping to have that ready to go by ready to have people read it for me, beta read, and then hopefully send out to query agents in March.
nice.
And so, a little taste of my book. It's a middle grade book that's a portal fantasy where a group of kids get flung into a magical locker and are a part of a secret agency that where they end up having to go back in time to 1993. I
Wow.
had originally set it in 1993, and then they told me that is historical fiction, which is
Oh,
a little depressing
that's
because that's when
terrifying.
I was in middle school.
That's
So
scary.
that's
Yeah.
just the general gist of it.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant. And is your main protagonist a boy or a girl?
She's a girl.
A
She
girl?
is roughly based on a conglomeration of myself, and I have 3 daughters,
Mm,
and a son. And so, but it's my 3 girls and I, and all of the fun things that we have managed to do during our middle school years.
brilliant. I'm excited to read that someday whenever it's finished.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Brilliant. Um, I'm just gonna quickly scroll back through the comments just to see if there's anything that sort of jumps out. Um, Himani said, "Writing's hard, a challenge to find ideas. Walking helps." I think a few people mentioned that walking or getting outside in nature is a really big help. Eric's Corner said that he uses screen readers to listen to my writing, and that sometimes helps. And going back through it in that way. Kelly said, "My computer died and it forced me away from writing. That opened up time for observing and daydreaming. That the new scenes evolved. I love that. That's brilliant."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and just having a quick look back through stuff. There's one question from Alexander. I write faith-based articles on my Substack for the past few years, but I've been stuck on my subscriber count. Is there any way I can improve my audience and also my views, reader stats? Um, Kristen, have you done anything recently that you've kind of found has maybe helped you to get to know your audience better, or has helped you maybe connect with other people on Substack in a better way?
Yeah, well, I still have a very small audience, but I have grown quite a lot since starting to work with you, David. And one of the things that you suggested that has been really surprisingly helpful. I remember messaging you and being like, I feel like this is going to ruin Substack for me. I'm going to break it. And you know, this seems wrong, but was to go and find publications of people that you really resonate with, who are in your niche, kind of the things that you're trying to write to, and
Mhm,
follow people who are following them.
mhm,
And I kind of really honestly questioned you when you suggested that. But it has brought so many wonderful people, wonderful writers who are some of them are a few steps ahead of where I'm at. Some of them are right at the same place. And I mean, one of the things that gives me hope is honestly is Substack because there's so many amazing writers on there who
mhm.
are getting out there and doing the work. And that has actually helped to grow my reach, my
Yeah,
audience, the people, and it's been really fun to find people who are creating wonderful things. So that's
yeah,
been really easy and surprisingly fun.
yeah. I think Substacks great for that. It's great to just network with other people and make new friends and make new connections and stuff. I've always loved it for that. It's such a great platform for that. And one more question, then I'll hand back to you to finish up. What made you write your first book? You answer that question then, Kristen. What made you write?
Oh,
Made you want to write your
well,
book?
I want to know what you wrote, what made you write your first book too. So I'll answer first, and that is just I had my family pestering me.
Brilliant.
Basically, my mom and my sister, and I've always wanted to write kids books, but it never really felt like I could take the time to do it. Um, and then finally, my husband then finally, this last bit of time when I really invested in it, he was like, I really want you to do this. I know you've wanted to do it. Let's make it work." And so
Brilliant. It's so great to have that kind of support, people around you really pushing you to
I
do it.
mean, it's really necessary, I think.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's pretty hard to be a writer anyway, and then to do it if you don't have support would be pretty hard. So,
yeah, yeah. I think for
yeah.
me, what made me want to write my first book was, I think I was kind of feeling a general weariness with how I perceived villains in in books and movies to kind of be. I felt a lot of villains were kind of lame. Like they kind of you kind of got to the
Mhm.
end point of a series or whatever, and the villain was like beaten so easily and all that sort of stuff. And I sort of kept seeing that happen over and over again. And it kind of felt like I'd love to write a really really good villain, but in order to do that, I need a really really good protagonist or series of protagonists to kind of take him on. So I think it was during the pandemic, everything shut down in 2020 at the start of the year, and we kind of had nothing else to do for a point. And I was like, you know what, I've got some time. Can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. I'm just going to start trying to write a story, and that's where the Soulburn Talisman originally came from. It took me about a year to write the first draft of that, just during the pandemic. So, yeah, time and space, and if you kind of feel a frustration yourself sometimes with what you wanna see out there and doesn't seem to exist, and that's a good driver of, wanting to write a book.
That is a much better answer than mine. I love it.
Not at all,
I
just
I
different
love a
stories.
good villain, man. I love a
Yeah,
good villain.
me
So
too.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yay.
definitely. Um, Kristen, is there anything else you wanna ask or say? It's come towards the end of this live.
Well, when I was hosting it on my channel, I was gonna ask, "What's the easiest way for people to find you?" But clearly, people have found you because they are already following you. So I'll just
Yeah,
get that from you before. But, no, I think that was it. I'm just was really excited to come and get some inspiration and ask questions. It was really delightful. Thanks for letting me hang out with your audience. I really enjoyed being with you all.
yeah. No, it's great to be here. Alexander, you have to comment there. Send me a message, Alexander, after this, and I'll answer your question again because I'm not sure if I missed it or not. But yeah, no, it was so good to chat to you, Kristen. I really, really enjoyed this as well. I think everyone else who's here probably really enjoyed it too. Make sure if you're watching this today and you're in my audience to join Kristen's audience. So subscribe to her publication, say hello to her, check out some of her notes. She puts up awesome notes on a daily basis that often feature dogs or ducks or all kinds of animals and stuff like that. So definitely check out her publication after this and stay connected with her. And whenever her book is out, make sure to grab a copy of that too whenever the time comes. Um,
In years, in advance, yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. Look, tell us about it. Your process whenever you're going through, everything you're doing with it, Kristen, as well, so we can stay on board with it. Because, I'm really excited to read it someday. Eventually, whenever it's out there, get it on the bookshelf that's behind me. Yeah, thanks guys for joining us here today. Thank you, Kristen, for um asking me some questions. It's always nice to be on the other side of that and have somebody
Yeah.
else interview me. It was fun. Yeah, anything else you want to say just as we leave?
No, this is great. Oh, well, I mean, if you ever have the opportunity to work with David as a coach, take it because he is fantastic. Um,
I'll send you your commission after this.
yeah,
Just
wink.
kidding. Brilliant.
Yep,
Thanks, guys, for joining us. And you'll see me soon. You'll probably see Kristen really soon. She does Substack Lives, or going to be doing more Substack Lives regularly, I think. So you'll
yep.
see her face and hear her voice again really soon. And she has a podcast as well. So if you enjoy listening to this kind of stuff, make sure you check that out on your own YouTube as well. I think Kristen too. So
Oh,
um,
yes.
she's everywhere. So check her
I'm
out.
everywhere.
Give her some support. Subscribe to her stuff. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. We'll see you again real soon. See you, Kristen.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Yep. Bye, David.
Bye bye.